Welcome to the Grief Pod with Venetia Quick. This is a weekly podcast which looks at every aspect of something which has or will at some point affect us all. And that is grief. Whether you've lost a loved one or about to lose someone you know, or perhaps you're simply trying to help someone navigate their grief and don't know where to start or what to say, then perhaps this is the podcast for you. Each week, I'll be bringing you different stories and experiences of loss, love, hope, and at times humour. In this episode, my guest is Marie Keating, co-founder of the Marie Keating Foundation. And as we know, the foundation does extensive work in educating people about early detection for all different sorts of cancers. It supports those going through cancer treatment during the process and afterwards, and also their loved ones, because as many people know, that's for the people on the side, it's a very anxious and often very lonely journey. Linda, you're very welcome today. Would you start by perhaps telling us a little bit about your mum?
Okay. I guess Mum was the heart of the family. She was an amazing person. No matter what had happened in your life, no matter what you'd gone through, she always made you feel everything was going to be all right. She had this ability. There was five of us. There's my four brothers and myself, and she had a different relationship with every single one of us, and she had a special relationship with every single one of us. And she was just an amazing person. We did everything all our lives to please her, and if Mum was happy, we were all happy, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But all she ever wanted in life were her kids to be all right. Like, even when she was sick, once my kids are all right, I don't care.
Yeah,
I'll be all right.
because it's a very, maternal mammy thing. But also, she was very young. Like, she was only 51 when she passed away.
Well, the reason she... Mum had a fear of hospitals and doctors. Out of her 5 kids, she had 4 of us at home. Wow. And so when it came to her having something and feeling something, it actually started as Paget's disease, which is a decaying nipple and is always followed by a malignant tumour. So Mum went to the doctor, and the doctor said, "Marie, it's mastitis. I think it's mastitis. Take this antibiotic for 2 weeks. If it doesn't clear up, come back to me."
Yeah.
It didn't clear up, and Mum didn't go back. And we found out a year after she died that her form of breast cancer was actually the most curable. So if she'd have done something about it early, she wouldn't have needed any chemotherapy, no radiotherapy, nothing. They would have literally just taken her breast, because it starts at the outside and works its way in. Wow. So, and that's why, she had a fear, and that's why she ignored it. So,
but you can understand that fear, because I guess if you think there's something wrong with you, subconsciously you go, okay, I'm going to kick the can down the road, just, and then I don't need to know about it.
Ignore it and it'll go away.
Ignore it and it'll go away. Yeah. And I think most of us do that.
Well, we have all become the opposite because of that. And the fear we would have going to the doctor about something. Yeah. And then it's nothing. Yeah. But it's like...
But it's better to be that way than to just avoid the situation. So... when your mum then was diagnosed, and she was diagnosed with stage 4, which is,
final stage.
What you don't want to hear.
Well, the thing was, I was living in New York, and I rang Mum. It was a Monday. I rang, and she says, "Oh, Linda, I'm going to the hospital on Wednesday morning. They found a lump." I said, "Oh, Jesus, Mum, I'm coming home." And she says, "No, you're not coming home. You're not coming home." And I said, "I have to come home. I'm the only girl. I have to come home."
Yeah.
So, of course, I looked at my passport. It was out of date. So
always.
I had to go to the Irish embassy. So, first of all, my mother's doctor had to call Aer Lingus so that I could get a flight. And then they had to call the Irish embassy in New York so that I could get an emergency passport. Wow. So needless to say, I'm a rabbit in the headlights of a photograph on my passport, because they had to get it in 24 hours. So, and I did get a 10-year one, so I was stuck with that face for 10 years. So I went home thinking, I'll just come home till Monday. I'll go to the hospital with Mum on Wednesday morning, and it'll be grand, and we'll go do lunch for a few days, and I'll go catch up with everyone. And you don't expect to get that news. So my older brother Ciaran and myself went to the hospital with Mam. But even before that, like when we'd arrive in home, because my two brothers, Jared and Gary, were also living in New York at the time, and like Mam would be at the airport, there'd be big signs, welcome home, there'd be the breakfast would all be on, you know, it'd be a big... She answered the door in her dressing gown, and I thought, oh my God, this is not good.
Okay.
You know, so she's really low about this. So it's obviously worse than what she's told us. So we went to the hospital, and the doctor said, he called myself and Ciaran in. Mam was already in the room, and he said, I don't even have to do a biopsy. I can tell you now. It's a malignant tumour, but he said, we'll do one anyway. So he did. And it just started from there, and that was the 25th of September, 25th of September, and she had her operation on the 1st of October and had her breast removed. Right. And we started a journey from there just on her chemo. So needless to say, I didn't go back to America, and, you know, it was just, you know, we just spent time together and did everything together. And so it was then... Like, I even remember the night before she died, I'm in the hospital, and the doctor said to me, how do you feel about resuscitation? And I thought, he's off his head. Yeah. What's he asking me a question like that for? Mam's going to be grand. The whole time, I believed she was going to be fine. And I used to say to Mam, this is like the flu. You're taking the medication, you're going to get over it, and you're going to get on with your life, and everything's going to be great. And I really felt she was going to be fine. Yeah,
because you do sort of feel when you get... or somebody gets a diagnosis like that, that's, you know, your parent or your partner or whatever, you sort of go into, I don't know whether it's a state of shock or whether it's just, nope, you know, I refuse to accept that. They will be fine because this couldn't possibly happen to us.
And I know, and I'm sorry, you know this story too well yourself, but I always said you had very young children at the time, Venetia, and that's tough. And the one thing after Mam died, I always said at least she had the opportunity to rear her children, you know, and she was here for us. Like, Ronan turned 21 a month after Mam died. Like, my mother...
That's still so young.
It's very young.
Still so young.
But we were adults, if you know what I mean, you know, and even though it's so raw and we were brokenhearted, you have to, I guess we always have to find something to take ourselves out of it and to help us continue in life, to help us survive, because you kind of think, how are we going to survive? But
is that then where the foundation came about? Because
we were sitting around in the house after Mam died, and we were just devastated. We thought, what are we going to do? This is just, you're like an open wound that you just can't heal. And that's what it felt. You felt so vulnerable, so exposed. Again, you know this too well. And I guess having somebody like Ronan, who was well known, speaking about it as well, you know, we kind of said, let's do something. Like, because Mam had the fear of hospitals and doctors, we thought, let's put, you know, units on the road that can go out and help people. We thought screening units at the time, but of course then we realised that's just not doable. They would have, at the time, back in 98, they would have cost $1 million just to put one on the road, and then they have to be parked up for 3 months in a certain place. And we didn't realise that breast check was in the process of being set up at the very same time. Wow. So we ended up working with them. So we decided, let's put mobile units with nurses on the road. So I was introduced to a guy by the name of Peter Quigley, and he was in Action Cancer up in Northern Ireland, and they had mobile units like what we wanted to do on the road, and they were brilliant. He was fantastic to me. You know, he said, no, Linda, don't do this didn't work for us. So he gave me all the things that I shouldn't do, which was an amazing help. So we didn't have an office, we didn't have anything.
So it was kitchen table.
It was my mobile, a ready to go mobile phone. And I remember, oh my God, one of the first events we were ever a part of was a big fashion show that was in the Point depot at the time. It was the Point. And my part of it, the Marie Keating Foundation, were the third charity. It was for Childline, the Chernobyl Children's Project, and Marie Keating Foundation. And like, I was in charge of all the advertising and the brochure that was put together. And I'd have to call people. I remember one day putting £80 into the mobile phone, and this was like
that was a lot.
That was an awful lot of money.
Lot.
I was like, oh my god! But anyway, we got up and going, and that gave us a huge start. And then people around the country running events, listening to Ronan speaking about it. And I remember one time, this was way back in the beginning, it was about 3 months set up, and I said, oh God, because he talked about it in so many places, I said, I'm going to go into the bank and see how much is in there, and thinking there'll be loads in there. There was something like 300 quid in the bank, and I was like, oh my God. But anyway, it kicked off, and it was grand. So we put our mobile units on the road, and we rolled them out in 2001. Like, we'd started fundraising straight away in 98. But again, no offices, no nothing. I was managing a restaurant. I'd opened a restaurant and managing it in Naas. And then in 2001, we put the mobile units on the road. And then we had to get, people, we had employ nurses and people to manage the office and stuff like that. Very, very small team. But I mean, we thought as a family that we would build these units, put them on the road, hand them over to the government after a year, because we thought this is something really basic. And all we're doing, we're not sticking needles in anybody. Yeah. We're nurses. Our nurses were out on the road, and they were just encouraging people to go back to their doctors, their GPs, making them realise there's no such thing as a stupid question. Yeah. That's as basic as it was, and that's really all we wanted to do. Yeah. But it grew over the years, because I guess it was like a can of worms. You see all of the needs that are there, like people who are suffering financially as a result of a cancer diagnosis. People are out of work. Even to drive your car, if you're well enough to be able to drive your car in in a hospital. Extortion. And there was a survey done a couple of years ago where it said that people had to pay up to €864 extra per month just because they had been diagnosed with cancer, and they were on a cancer journey and needing treatment. So we have a comfort fund grant, created a comfort fund grant, and that was just to help people, like with a fill of oil, if people are going through cancer treatment, they will be very cold even in the summer months on the hottest days, and so they need the heat on all the time. So a fill of oil, pay your insurance on your car so you can drive it, pay for a taxi, babysitters if you.
I was just about to say that, because it's the little things like that that people don't think of as, if they haven't been through it. You don't think of like, I really want to go to the hospital for half an hour.
Yes.
So you're relying on friends, neighbours, family, and to mind your kids, or to maybe do the shopping for you if something's gone wrong in the hospital, and you need to be there, because the
freedom.
Exactly. So you've given this to so many people. And people are suffering enough. They don't need to be worrying about the fill of oil or the babysitters, or they don't need to have that financial worry on top of their head, as well as dealing with their health and their cancer diagnosis, So it's a one-off grant that the Marie Keating Foundation give. That's the Comfort Fund. But then we wanted to go into schools, because Mum had that, as I say again, that fear of hospitals and doctors. We thought, if we can teach people at a young age, if you get a toothache, you're going to go to the dentist. Yeah. So just to know your own body, and to know the different things, and look out for changes in your body. Something really simple, not to make people worry, but just go to the doctor and take that fear away. Yeah. Because you spend so much time worrying about, what if it's this, what if it's that, what if it's that? Just Googling
go.
your symptoms.
Oh, Dr. Google. Disaster. But so there were so many things that the Marie Keating Foundation then created. And the Marie Keating Foundation also have a Survive and Thrive programme, which supports people coming out the other side of cancer. Like, people will have fears: am I eating the right food? Am I doing the right exercise? Is my cancer going to come back? And they would bring, under the guidance of the Director of Nursing, Helen Forrestill, they would bring, people in, specialists in all of those areas, to help people. And it's an 8-week course, and it's free. Wow. And it's one evening a week. And COVID, bad and all as it was, it helped the Marie Keating Foundation to transition those services to online, so more people could be supported, because we like to keep the groups like as small as like no more than 15 or 16, so that everybody gets that opportunity to speak and to be listened to and to be helped. And that's an amazing group. And then Helen also created the Positive Living Group, which is a group of people who are living with a terminal cancer diagnosis. But there's one lady there, and I think she's 7 or 8 years there. I mean,
wow.
And it's great. There was another lady we met who was 15 years, living with a terminal cancer diagnosis. And this is hope. It's hope that you're giving people. And people, they thrive. Like you could go in to say hello to all of these people in the group. They don't even have time to talk to you. Like, they're chatting to each other. And because I always believe that nobody understands more what you're going through, even though your friends and family love you, but unless you've been through on that journey, or you're on that journey, it's just so positive. It's fantastic.
No, you can tell by talking to you how delighted you are, and how, I think, proud you are.
Absolutely.
To have got to this point, and to honour your mum and her name, and keep her name alive. But do you ever, because now we know so much, and largely thanks to you guys, about early detection, what to look out for, checking ourselves, do you ever feel sort of angry, though, that your mum didn't have that opportunity, or that if she had, or you'd perhaps, if you had known more about it, you could have...
I guess, and it goes back to... None of us want to know about cancer, about heart disease, about any different illnesses until it knocks on our door. And yes, you do feel, gosh, why, if I had known something, because Mum had a weeping nipple and she was saying it, and she went to her doctor, and her doctor, whatever had said the different things. We never ever thought it was going to be cancer. Like you say, we never thought it was going to knock on our door. And when it did, and I guess, I don't know, I guess we did feel angry. But when you think about it, when we look back now, 26 years and almost 27 years now, you think, Mum died, but how many people have lived
so
because of the person she was, and made us do what we did?
And how do you think she would feel? I mean, everybody knows her name.
Yeah.
And do you think that, would she secretly be there loving that?
Oh, absolutely. No, she really would. My mother was the type of person who loved to help people. She wasn't the best cook in the whole wide world, but she could do a great breakfast. And I even remember when Boys Own were starting out, and they all would come to our house first, and Mum would make breakfast for them all and send them off. And once they were fed, they'd be all right. And all the lads adored my mother. They loved her, and all the mothers. Like, if anyone was going anywhere, they'd all be ringing around. Oh, will you pick up my mother on the way? And will you? And all 5 mothers would be gone together.
And that must have been great for them at that time, because it was all sort of so new and so, probably daunting but exciting to have the constant of somebody like your mum just going, no, this is the way, have you clean socks? That's stuff.
Oh no, absolutely. Yeah, he'd come home, he could be home for a day or two, and she'd be all the washing she'd have to do to have it ready to have his bags packed to go again whenever they'd be going. But like, she'd pick him up from the airport every time he went, every time he was travelling. Mum would go up to the airport and pick him up. But all the mothers were all great. I only know from my side, I was living in America at the time, so we'd only be hearing the stories, and then when we'd be home, you'd see it in full swing.
Now, sadly, you also lost your brother.
Yes.
Last year. You always seem like such a close family, and just even your stories there about your mum, and looking after Boys Own and picking up Ronan from the airport. Obviously, this is very difficult time for you.
But you know what? I'm nearly glad that Mum isn't here, because it would have killed her if she was here when Ciaran died. It was just an awful time.
Because that was a tragedy.
It was
a real tragedy. Yeah,
I'll never forget. Connell, my nephew, rang me to tell me that there'd been an accident, and my birthday is the 14th of July.
Ciaran died on the 15th, and Ciaran's son, Rory's birthday is the 16th. So Conan, when he rang me, I thought, he's ringing me to wish me happy birthday. Hey, Connie, how are you? And he goes, Lil, there's been an accident. And I said, oh my God, what's wrong? And he said, Mum is okay, but Dad's dead. And it was just like that. And I was the one.
And how old was he?
Ciaran, only 17 months between us. Ciaran was 58.
Wow.
58, yeah. But I wanted to make sure that I was the one who called each one of... Connell did call my brother Jared, because Jared took them straight down to Mayo. They live in Dublin. But I needed to make sure that I was the one. Social media is so quick. It's so quick. And I just needed to make sure that I could get my dad and my other two brothers. And Gary was in the airport in Heathrow with his son Josh. Thanks be to God, Josh was with him. And he was flying back to Dublin. So needless to say, he didn't get on the plane. He turned around and went back to Ronan's. Ronan was on a golf outing, and Missy, my niece, had just rang me to wish me happy birthday as well. And she said, I said, where's your dad? I can't get him. Then after that, I rang her back because I couldn't get Ronan. And I tried a couple of times, and I finally had to ring Missy back. And she goes, what's wrong? And I said, I can't tell you, Missy, I need to talk to Ronan first. So I got Ronan then as well. But thanks be to God, Storm was with him as well, which was great, and great in a very bad situation. But they weren't on their own, So, and I was in my friend's house. She was having drinks for me for my birthday, which was the day after. So I was around people as well. So it was grand for all of us. And then we all just went to Mayo the next day. We descended upon Mayo and just got through it together, and Ciaran's kids, like Anne-Marie was the worry, my sister-in-law, because she was quite ill, and she couldn't even make it to Ciaran's funeral. So we brought Ciaran the day before the funeral. We brought Ciaran back down to the hospital, and we couldn't even go in because Anne-Marie was so prone to infection and she was so sick. So they could have 15 minutes in the chapel in the hospital together. So that was nice. That was nice in a terrible situation again. So yeah, but it just, we don't know what tomorrow brings for any of us.
No, it's that one call that nobody wants to get.
Yeah.
And is that brought you closer as a family? Do you think and with your faith, do you think that's weakened it or strengthened it?
Oh no, I mean, my faith is very, very strong, and only for it, I don't know how I'd cope. But God is good, and they say God only deals out what you can handle. So, but as a family, it was just really, really hard, really, really hard. But then you're kind of not thinking about yourself; you're thinking about everybody else. You're thinking about Ciaran's kids, Ciaran's wife, Anne-Marie. I'm thinking about my brothers, but even to see my nieces and nephews and how fabulous they all were, and they're all great, all the other kids. And look, we just take it one day at a time, one foot in front of the other.
Yeah, because nobody knows what.
No.
And do you feel, we were chatting a bit earlier about, nobody really knows.
No, and we don't know. I do believe our lives are planned out. I do believe we do make our own choices, but we are where we are when we're meant to be there. I do believe. And I think what's for us in life really won't go by us. Like we try and say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And I always say we make plans and God laughs, because it's there for us, whatever we're going to do next, we can
decide to a certain degree.
Exactly.
And then that's it.
Yes, yeah. And then we fall into things like, I never thought I'd be with the foundation for 26 years. And because hospitality has been my life, and I love that. But with the foundation, that's a passion, and I'll always be a part of that. But I think we can all only take things so far, and we'll always be a part of it. But I I just believe wherever we're meant to be, we're going to be.
So you can sort of create your exactly how you want stuff to a certain degree, but there's always somebody else going, actually, I have an ulterior plan.
Exactly.
Now, you stepped slightly aside from
I did.
the
I stepped
foundation.
away from the foundation. I did, yeah.
Was that sort of like a little, well, not a little, but was there grief in that because you'd done it for so long and it was such a massive part of your life?
Venetia, I felt like I was at the airport with my 26-year-old child saying, off you go now to America, but if you need me, I'm here.
Yeah.
It was, and there was. It took time for that separation anxiety,
Yeah.
But
Because 26 years is a very long time.
it's a lifetime, really. But there's an amazing team in the Marie Keating Foundation, and I just feel I want to maybe back into hospitality, do something different. I mean, I'm always going to be there. Like my brother Gary now is sitting on the board. Like there's always a family member.
Okay, so it's very
hugely involved.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And we'll always be a part of so many things that are going on. But it's like you got to let the kids be kids. I got to let it. I've got to let it go, and I need to do it for me.
Yes.
I want to do something because from the minute I stepped off the plane from New York, it's all been about Mum and the Marie Keating Foundation, and it's just, let's see where it goes. God only knows where I could be. I could be back in there in 5 years' time. God only knows. It's all in
but by
his hands.
then you might decide, right, that's what, maybe somebody is deciding that's what you're going to do.
Exactly.
Just finally, I wanted to ask you if, just from what you've learnt in the past 26, 27 years, if you could give a message of hope or perhaps advice or something that you've learned, if you could pass something on, what would that be?
Oh God, be kind to yourself. Life is very tough. I think if you talk to anybody right now, and we were saying this earlier, if you talk to anybody right now, everybody has so much awful things going on in their lives. But if you put everybody's problem into the middle of the table, you'll take your own home. But I do believe we need to be kinder to each other. I think life is very hard on people, and I think coming out of COVID, that made it even worse. I guess hug your loved ones that little bit tighter. We don't know what tomorrow brings, and but life does throw us nice curveballs too, and it's. Here we start a new year and a new life, and we've got to be hopeful, and we've just, I don't know, take that chance. Don't have no regrets. Just go for it, and enjoy life and laugh. We have to laugh.
Oh yeah, that is
have to laugh.
That is a constant. I think that's what does keep you going. Actually, at the end of the day,
better than any tonic, a good belly laugh, and have a bit of fun. Yeah,
Linda, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Grief Pod with Venetia Quick. You can listen on SoundCloud or wherever you get your podcasts. We also have an online community on Facebook, The Grief Pod, or on Instagram @GriefPod Series.